Loneliness is at an all-time high. 15% of men say that they don't have any close friends anymore. Think about that for a second. 1 in every 7 men say that they have no one they would feel comfortable calling if they were in trouble. No one to lean on when life gets a little heavy. And if you're a guy watching this, you probably know more than one person that this statistic applies to. Maybe it even applies to you. And the worst part is, it's not getting any better. The numbers are only going up. So today, I want to break down why male loneliness is on the rise, what it does to us when we ignore it, and what we can actually do to fight back. Because whether you're dealing with this yourself or not, you can still be part of the solution. Loneliness doesn't always look like physically being alone. You could be surrounded by people, you could even have a significant other, and you can still feel completely unseen. Because it's really hard to open up to people out of the fear of how they will receive that information, especially if they're guy friends, right? Even for me, I've realized I'll talk openly about pretty much everything in my life except the vulnerable stuff. It's hard for me to share that with my guy friends because it feels awkward, like I'd be putting a burden on them. So that leaves me with the choice of burdening my partner with those feelings or holding them in. But imagine if you don't have either of those outlets. No partner, no close friends. Just you and your thoughts every single day. That's the reality for so many men. And it's not like we don't want friendships, it's that we're taught not to prioritize them. Because men get rewarded for achievement, productivity, providing. No one's gonna clap for you if you spend time with your boys. So friendships fall to the bottom of the list, behind work, behind relationships, behind basically everything. And by the time you realize what happened, your social circle has shrunk to almost nothing. Like, yeah, you might have a few friends that you keep up with from high school, maybe you picked up a few work friends, but how often do you actually see them, you know? How often do you actually talk to them in a vulnerable way? Probably not often. It's all very surface level. Like I said, even if you have people around you, you don't feel connected to them. And that's why we get guys that are now obsessing over OnlyFans models and streamers. We laugh at them for spending money on nudes, but a lot of them aren't really paying for the photos and videos, they're paying for the illusion of connection. They're paying to have someone notice them and talk to them and make them feel seen. That's because socializing isn't optional, it's a need. So what happens when this need goes unmet? Some men turn bitter. You've probably seen them. The guys who tear down everyone else's happiness, who lash out at women online, who complain about how everyone else's relationships are fake. That's what happens when loneliness turns to resentment. And that's on the more positive end. Other guys, they get so depressed that they check out completely. A big reason this video is specifically about men and not women is because young men are 4 times more likely to die by suicide. And divorced men are 8 times more likely to take their own lives than a divorced woman. That's what happens when you hold your feelings in or you outsource all your emotional connection to one person. When the relationship ends, you lose your partner and your support system all in one blow. And that's why the best way to cure loneliness, in my opinion, is creating and building lasting friendships with men. And if you're from my generation, when I said that, you probably thought, yay! But it's okay, I promise. We're gonna move past that. Wanting to hang out with other men does not make you gay. Statistically, it will improve your life. So let's get into my 3 ways to make this happen. Step 1 is fixing your mindset. You have to realize that it's not hopeless. Loneliness tricks you into believing that you're stuck this way forever, that you're just not the type to make friends. But that's a lie. Start by rejecting everything you've learned about what makes a man worth something in today's modern society. Society tells men that our worth comes from what we produce, the job, the money, the grind, but you are more than a paycheck. And if social media is the thing that is feeding you this negativity, cut it off. Take a break, unfollow people, mute the things that you don't want to see. Curate your feed into the things that give you inspiration instead of all the addictive doom and gloom stuff. Like, yeah, it feels good in the moment to consume that kind of stuff, but it's really inching you one step closer to that dark reality that we don't want to happen. And it might sound silly, but one way to help your social life would be to picture what you want your social life to be like. What would it look like if you had friends that always wanted to hang out? Would it be a weekly game night, a group chat that actually feels alive, Saturday night gaming sessions? You gotta believe that it's possible. That way you can find ways to actually make it happen. And step 2 is also very, very important. It is about being a better friend. Friendships do not maintain themselves. They need effort, and most guys, myself included, are not really good at that. We tend to need excuses to hang out, like watching the game, hitting the gym, playing video games. And that's fine. Use that as an excuse to get closer with your friends. Be the guy who is always pushing for plans. Yes, it's more of a burden, but there's a good chance that your friend is feeling just like you, wishing someone invited him to go do something. I like to think about it like this. When men go golfing, it's not really about golf. Golf is boring. The real point is just to have an excuse to hang out and talk. Because we all want that connection, it just feels less forced when we're doing something alongside it. And on the other side of this coin, if you have nobody you could even think to reach out to, or you don't live close to your friends, that is a much harder battle because that means you're gonna have to put yourself out there and make new friends. Which means you actually need to leave the house and make an effort. I'm sorry if that feels targeted, but I'm talking to myself too. So I'm with you, trust me. This is something we could actually learn from women because they are great at this. Women make making new friends look so easy. They just start with a compliment. Nice shoes, where did you get them? I like the way you did your hair. And boom, they're in, yapping about anything and everything. And we can be this way too. We just gotta let go of that feeling that it's going to be awkward. Because it's probably going to be awkward. But once you get past that, what is there to really worry about? Like, yeah, putting yourself out there and giving a compliment to another man feels weird, but men also never get complimented on anything. So at the very least, you know he's about to hold on to that compliment for the next 5 years. So I say just go for it. Anyways, speaking of women, that is actually step 3. Stop expecting women to fix your loneliness. This is tough, but it has to be said. A relationship will not cure your loneliness. Don't get me wrong. Having a woman in your life can be very transformative, but if you expect her to carry every ounce of your social and emotional needs, that is not okay. That is codependency. 82% of men say that only their partner's affection can ease their stress. That's real, but it's also risky because if she leaves you, you're back at zero. The loneliness will just come rushing back to you, probably even worse than before. I like to use the analogy that your partner can be your anchor, but she can't be your entire ship. You are the ship. And if there's a mutiny going on your ship, she'll hold you down, but ultimately, you are the one that has to fix the problem. So please, do not pin your loneliness on a woman. I'll be honest, this video is actually inspired by some of the nasty comments I get whenever I do talk about anything having to do with relationships. It's always men in the comments blaming women for their problems. And it's very easy to write those guys off as being bitter or misogynistic, but underneath all that anger, it's really just loneliness. That's the root. Loneliness turns to bitterness, bitterness turns into hate. So I don't want to argue with those guys. I want to stop people from becoming those guys. And as much as those guys would love to disagree, this battle starts with guys and not women. Because here's the truth. Friendships are one of the most beautiful parts of life. They're like movies we get to watch unfold. You remember when your friend used to talk about his high school crush, and then you're standing at his wedding years later. Or when your buddy said that he wanted to be a doctor, and then you see him get accepted into med school. Yes, these are very regular occurrences, but they're not small things. That's life. We just don't cherish it anymore because we're too busy trying to survive. So please do not wait to see each other at weddings and funerals. Make the call, plant the seed, and check on your friends. And if you have any other tips about how you maintain or make friendships, drop them in the comments. And as always, thank you for watching. Shogun!